Welcome to the Kevin Clancy Show. I've been in this game over a decade, and I knew I needed a place where I could run wild on my own solo podcast, where I tell personal stories, I deep dive into conspiracy theories, we rip through the current events of the day, and we do sit-down conversations with the most interesting people on the internet. Make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
What's up, you mutts? We're live back at Barstool HQ in Manhattan after a week off in Nashville. We're back here behind the glass is my man Za and, of course, Nikki the Great. We'll be taking your calls in a minute. A little late start today because there's just fucking traffic every goddamn day because of one asshole. There's always one asshole who breaks down, full-blown breaks down on the West Side Highway. And I know I can't sit here and complain about driving in New York City, but I'm addicted, man. I'm fucking addicted to driving. I started driving during the pandemic, and I can't stop. Even though now it's completely preposterous to drive your car in Manhattan, I'm fucking doing it because it's enjoyable. I drive down the Hudson, and I fucking play music. I listen to podcasts. I don't want to deal with the fucking subways. I don't want to get shot, and I don't want homeless people to shit on me and come on. I'm too old for this shit. Getting too old for the goddamn subway. But there's just, how does one car break down like every fucking day? It's absolute lunacy, man. Let me tell you a little something, too. So I started driving in the pandemic because there was nobody going to work, and we were the only people going to work. So I would fly in. It would take like 25 minutes max to get into the city. And then, obviously, like things started to slowly progress back. But the other day, I'm on a Zoom call with this company we're working with to do some more games for KFC Radio. Be on the lookout for more card games. And they go like, "Oh, looks like you guys are back at the office, huh?" And we were like, "Yo, buddy. Yeah. We've been back at the office." And he was like, "How long?" And Allison, our merch girl, goes, "Oh my God, I don't even want to tell you." She's like, "We got back to the office like July of 2020," and he goes, "Oh, so we're coming up on a 1 year anniversary." And we were like, "No, babe, it's 2022, homie."
Yo, I think we were back in May.
We never left, man. And yet, and still, I would say out of every company that I know, content company that was like working during the pandemic, I think we handled Corona like better than anybody. If we had any outbreaks, we contact trace. Everybody went home. We never had like a wave of it. So all good here. So I started driving, and I just couldn't stop. So if you see a madman pushing a 2010 Ford Prius, Dodge Prius, who makes the Prius?
Toyota.
Pushing
Prius.
a 2010 Toyota Prius, screaming on the highway, it's your boy. I have officially, by the way, conquered all of my car problems. And so to everybody out there who fucking doubted me, double middles to you guys.
Yeah,
and
what happened to the Honda?
What's that?
What happened to the Honda? Shout out to Honda.
Okay. So I had the Hyundai, right? That was the one that broke down like 2 years ago. And I had that whole fiasco. I got it back. So this February, I decided for once to try to do something preemptive and proactive and be an adult, because I'm trying to be an adult for once and like not just like I always get butt fucked by taxes. I always get blindsided by responsibilities. I never handle anything right. I'm always paying like fines and fees and extras. And so I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I know a guy who's got a shop. I'm going to send my Hyundai in because I've been driving in the city so much. I got these dings and bumps from street parking and garages and shit. I was like, let me send my car in, and he's going to, fix all this shit for me. I'll post about his shop. It'll be a little scratch your back, I scratch mine. And then that way when I turn it into Hyundai, because my lease is up, I won't get charged with all the fucking, all the damages. So I send it in. Turns out that one of the bumps needed like a new part. It wasn't just like, let me buff it out, let me fix it. Now, I had no idea how bad this supply chain is. Probably because I'm not an adult and I'm a child and I don't know what's going on in the world today. So he's like, okay, your car's basically ready. We just need this one part to come. This is back in like the beginning of February. My lease is up in April. So I'm thinking, all right, I got a couple months. I'll be all right. Day after day, week after week goes by, and he's just like, bro, we're waiting for the part. It's got to come from like fucking Japan. It's just not here. So all the while, I had a rental car. They only cover me for a month. So then I at one point I had Geico coming to me being like, yo, you got to turn your car in. Like, you're not covered anymore. I had Enterprise being like, you need to bring this car back. You only signed a lease. You only signed an agreement for 1 month, and it's past that. So right now you're technically like stealing our car from us. But the reason why I couldn't go back to them and renew my agreement was because as all of this happened, my license expired. And while I was renewing that, they were mailing it to me. It took 3 fucking weeks for the DMV to mail me my goddamn new license because for some fucking reason I didn't do it on the internet. I did it by the old school mail. So I've got the DMV. I got problems with the DMV, with the insurance, with Enterprise, with Hyundai, because now my lease expires, and they call me up. They're like, we need our car back. I'm like, you can't have your car. It's in the shop, and the part's not coming until fucking June. So I have like 5 different car entities all coming at me. All the while, I turn the car back in. I borrow from my uncle. He's got this 2010 Toyota Prius. So right now I am driving like a homeless person. People are looking at me. I got clowned so bad, Za. I was at the Mets game, opening day.
Yeah.
I'm pulling out of the parking lot. I'm stuck in traffic. And these guys see me, and they're like, they see the hat. They're like, yo, KFC. I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? They go, are you driving a Prius? Pay you over there. I was like, oh my God. I was like, get me out of here, dude. And it was one of those things where the parking lot was so crowded that I was there for like a solid 5 minutes, and I just saw all them snickering at me and laughing at me. It's a bitch, man. So yeah, I've driven the most embarrassing cars in the world. I drove that Fiat back in the day. Remember that little the Fiat days were, can we pull up a picture of that? The Fiat days were special. I took a picture. We leased a Fiat. This is back when I was married or at least engaged. We leased a Fiat, and the guy made us take a picture in front of it as if like I just bought my first Ferrari. He was like, congratulations, let's get a picture. I was like, let's get a picture. Bro, I just rented a fucking go-kart from you, okay? It's a fucking mini car, mini Fiat. What are we doing? The only reason we got that is because they had a deal with my, look at that, yeah, baby, with my leather jacket on, looking like I'm in fucking Sons of Anarchy, rocking my leather cut in front of that. Look how tiny that car is, bro.
You look like you're in the Italian Job.
Yeah.
So it's funny because my brother went to FSU, and he had the same. I think he was a freshman around about 99, and he had the same little Fiat, but his was red.
You know what's funny? Some people think the Fiat's like dope.
Yeah,
like it's very in the eye and the beauty in the eye of the beholder, you know.
And his thing had like no AC. You had to go turn the fucking car on
before
you get in. Open the windows.
Go-kart,
it
man.
was a whole.
Because I mean it's one of those cars like so. The reason we got it was because it came with a special deal with the garages on the Upper East Side, where you only had to pay $99 a month to park because they can put it in like a little corner. So usually parking is like $700 a month. Now we're getting it for $99. It's like this little Mario Kart car that we just zip back and forth to the Jersey Shore. But when those pictures came out and I was pushing the Fiat, people were like, what the fuck is this? And now I got the 2010 Prius. I'm pushing 50 miles to the gallon, motherfucker. You know? So, but I just got word. So I got rid of the rental car before like my insurance stopped covering it. The license arrived, and I got word that the part has come in, and I can get my car back, and I can turn it in. So I defeated all 5 car entities without paying any extra cash, without getting any tickets for no license, without getting thrown in jail, all of that shit. And let me tell you what else I think I've effectively navigated. Because I'm going to have to turn this car in and get a new car, I was driving around in my car. It was unregistered for 2 years. I just didn't because it expired during the pandemic, and renewing your shit, you had to go to the DMV, and the DMV became like appointment only, and you couldn't just show up. You had to have all the paperwork already done, and I was just like, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to get this done. I'm never going to take a day off of work to go sit in line. I'm never going to get all the paperwork right because, again, I am a child, and so I was just driving around with the unregistered vehicle for 2 straight years, and then it got to the point where I was like, well, I'm close enough to turning this bitch in, so let me just turn it in, and when I get a new car, that one will be registered. So I win. This is how I win, because this is how I live my life. Shout out to anybody out there who lives life by the skin of their fucking teeth. That is me. I am constantly juggling. My life is like Red Panda. I am Red Panda on a fucking unicycle, 20 feet in the air, balancing fucking bowls, throwing balls around, trying to do a million things at once, trying to run this show and that show and this other show while we travel to do this live show, while I take care of my 2 kids and I pay all my fucking ex-wife shit and I pay all my bills, and I got to make sure this and that and everything's in line, and it's just exhausting. Exhausting. This is why I keep saying I need just like I hate to say I need like an assistant, because that makes you sound like a douchebag, but I just need someone to do all the bullshit for me. I just don't want to do the bullshit.
I think you're at a point it's okay to say that you need an assistant.
You think so? You think
like,
so?
I mean, talking to Bert, he has an assistant.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't want to compare myself to
and
Bertie
I don't know
Boy,
how to
but
do that, so I really shouldn't be. Like, I don't have my own license because I let it expire.
every time we need to get a car somewhere, Nick's like, well, I don't have a license, and these guys are under 21 and under 25, and my license just expired, and it's like, well, nobody in the fucking crew can rent a car anymore.
Actually, you know what, Kev? If you don't have an assistant by the end of this year, man, I don't know what you're doing then.
I know. This has got to be This is the year. This is the year. By next, my birthday's March 6th. For my birthday next year, I'm giving myself an assistant. That's what I will do. My gift to me is someone else that I will have to pay. Another set of bills for me. But this one will be, honestly, all I need, I've said this before, and I always get flooded with people being like, I'll do it. And I just don't know how to pick. How do you pick someone like that? Because it means like you have to find someone who's like the most trustworthy person in the world. They're going to know all your shit, all your secrets, all your this, all your that, everything that you know, all your dirt, your assistant has to know. I mean, there are assistants here who could fucking, take the whole place down if they wanted to.
Yeah, Frankie and Gaz.
Oh, my God. Frankie, Gaz, Daniela, Spider. There are people who know where the bodies are buried, dog. So how do you find those people and know that you can absolutely trust them? I don't know. When I do get an assistant, I'm going to have to do some shit like I'm going to set up a scenario where you ever see that Netflix special? It was called The Push, where they convince people that someone got pushed off of the roof of a fucking building. It was unbelievable. It was this Netflix. It was a like social experiment, a.k.a. they just mentally tortured these people. They set them up at like a cocktail party. It was all fake. It was all actors. I think it was called The Push. And at one point, they go up on the roof, and there's people like smoking cigs, and they play out this scenario, this scene where one person pushes another person off a fucking building and pushes them to their death. And the whole thing was like, oh, God, that was a mistake. We need to keep this all between us, everyone on the roof here. Like, don't say anything. And they got these people. Some people were like, no, what are you talking about? I'm calling the police right now. But a couple people were down to ride, and they were like, all right, like, I'm not saying shit. Snitches get stitches. It was unreal the way they built up their trust the whole time. They befriended them. I think they even like smuggle the body down the stairs and get it out of the building. And there's just like a random stranger who went along with it. Like, yeah, sure, I'll just become an accomplice to murder. Anyway, my point is, I'm gonna set up a scenario like that where we're gonna I'm gonna have Feidelberg like fake kill Nick, and be like, what are you doing? What do you do in this situation? You going to the police? And if they rat, like, you're out. You're out of the running. Because I need someone who's like a vault, I say this like I'm living some fucking, life of a criminal or something.
Like, what are you doing?
I just honestly need someone to pay my parking tickets. That's really what it comes down to. I just need someone to pay my parking tickets before they rack up like thousands of dollars worth of penalties and fees. So if you can do that for me, Holler at me on March 6, 2023, and then I'll have some money to pay for you. That's basically what it comes down to. I'll pay you enough money that you just keep all my secrets for me. So, all right, we're going to get through a few things today. We'll go rapid fire because I was a half hour late. We'll get your calls in a little bit. I got to run through, of course, the best of the New York Post, who it's become a running segment here on the Kevin Clancy Show. The New York Post is back, where all they do is peddle smut and post ridiculous articles that in no way, shape, or form are journalism and are just straight entertainment and smut. It's like it's 2009 again, and I'm blogging, and I'm just looking for headlines, and they keep on churning them out. So we'll go through the top 4 or 5 of that for the past week. But I'll open up with some of the changes at Barstool. There was a Dave Portnoy episode with Big Cat where he's talking about moving back to Chicago. Which is now public. He said sometime in the next 18 months he wants to get back there before his kid starts kindergarten, which I think he's 3 now, so you got to get back, around when you're 4 or 5. But you know how it goes. You got to find a house and move and get settled, and he says sometime within the next 18 months. But it's everything's changing. It's interesting listening to the podcast with those two. In a way, it's already kind of like this. You know what I mean? We've already siloed off all of our shows in a way where one franchise really doesn't affect the other. So, it doesn't, PMT doesn't affect KFC Radio. KFC Radio doesn't affect the Dave Portnoy Show. Everybody's, Chicks in the Office doesn't affect Brianna. Brianna doesn't affect Out and About. 4 plays out on their own. They've been doing their own thing for a while. It's already kind of a spot where we're already all these different satellites. But at the same time, when we came together in New York is when we blew this thing up because it became one giant circus under one tent. And now, obviously, it won't be that with Dave in Miami and Dan in Chicago. And, once those guys go, I would imagine people are going to go back to Philly and DMV. And it is, on the one hand, I think that, especially through the pandemic, we learned that you can do everything remote, and people got used to Zoom. Celebrities are down to do interviews over Zoom. Everything is better in person, but is possible remotely. So I think that helps. But, what made Barstool explode was everybody being around to clown each other and watch games together and do electric chairs and do stool scenes and all that kind of stuff, which obviously you start to lose that, which is, I think, good and bad. I think it's bad in the sense, we saw this when Carabas was leaving, not leaving for DraftKings, but when he went back home to Boston, Dave was like, I think you should stay because things are better when you're there in person. So obviously we know that's the truth. So when people are separating, we do lose that appeal and that allure and the possibility for that sort of content. But what I do think is an interesting thought, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not, I hope it does, is it's almost like resetting, because you go back to the original idea of this guy in Chicago, this guy he's the Boston guy, but he'll be in Miami or wherever. I'm still in New York. People will go back to their satellite cities, and that's where, I said Barstool exploded when we got under one roof, but where it really grew and became the force that it is when everybody was in their own city, representing their own town and their own people, doing their thing. And it's almost like, what's his name? Ra's al Ghul in the League of Shadows. Always talking about how Gotham grows too big, and then they got to blow it up and tear it back down to kind of reset and restore, the values and the shit that it was originally first built on. I think there's a potential for that to happen with Barstool. We got so big and we expanded so fast, and we've added so many people, and some have been amazing, some have been okay, some have been duds. We've gone into different industries and markets and demos and all that shit, which is all good. But it's also, we got to a point where when you come in here, you just walk into a already running machine. It's like there's already an office with everything you need and all the support and all the producers, and everyone does everything for you, and you don't really need to do much. But that won't really be the case if, everyone kind of goes back to their own homes. And so it'll be much more, I think it'll be much more like sink or float, not really like let me hop in here and just kind of ride the wave. I think people are going to have to get back to making, great content. And that's what originally did it. It wasn't, you couldn't just be like, let me just hang out around Dave and I'll be in the mix and I'll always be on his shows and on my, I'll grow all my followers because I'm just there. That's not an option anymore. Dave will be growing his whack pack, so that'll certainly happen. And there'll be the whack pack in Chicago as well. So there will be those guys, but also everybody else who wants to do it, you got to do it on your own now. And I think that kind of restores the idea of like you got to fucking actually do something to make it, which I think is a good thing. I think we could use a little bit of that. So I think, on the one hand, I think it's very silly to act like nothing's gonna change. Of course it's gonna change. It wouldn't even be like an announcement or a conversation to be had if things weren't gonna change. But I also think you could maybe make the argument that it is change for the good, because it kind of erases like the laziness and some of the problems that arose from being in one big place where everybody is just floating by. So let me see. What is it? 888 Stool 22. What's the number?
888 Stool 22. So 888-786-6522.
6522. I'll tweet that out now. I'm sure there are some people who want to get some thoughts off about that or anything else. Call in now to talk Barstool.
It's interesting, man. It's going back to so when I started following was when it was all very city centric, and I was more. My roommate was from Boston.
Right.
And that's the one we were following mainly because
Sure.
of him. And yeah, I mean it's interesting just seeing it go back and progress.
And there was the time though, like so when I first started 09, that was like it was just Boston and New York, and there was no like central office. It was just like do it, go, like make your content and grow it and become great. And you had to like really want it. The thing that will never, I don't think, really be duplicated. I shouldn't say never, but I don't think we have yet to do it. We either lucked out or somehow we found the right guys, or somehow all fell into the same mindset where like everybody who first started wanted to be like the best and the funniest and the first and the fastest and the most prolific. There wasn't a single guy early on that was like, yeah, I'll just like ride coattails, or like, yeah, I'm just happy to be here. It was like I started in New York and I was like, I wanted to be better than Boston. I wanted to be the best. And then Philly started, and those guys, Mo and Smitty, and then were tag teaming it, and they were on their hustle too. And then Chicago and Barstool U, and it was like, but everybody wanted. There was nobody who was just like, I'm just here to like get famous and make like be rich and get all my followers. It was just like for the love of the game and for the grind, really. And I don't know why everybody was like that, because it's not like we have an extensive interviewing process or we have some machine that like churns those people out. I think we got lucky in a sense that everybody was all about like just like we were doing it for the love of the game, truly, just to be like the best and like pride and ego. So and that, yeah, there are people who like want to build their brand and want to be successful, but I think it's much more about like the money and the fame and all of that, as opposed to like just because we just want to do it, So let me take a couple calls on that, then we'll jump to the New York Post articles for the day, and we'll take your calls on that as well. Let's begin with Trevor. Am I posting Air 1 or 2? Air 1? All right. Trevor in Florida, which is now, I guess, going to be Portnoy territory in the future. Trevor, what's up?
What's up, KFC? Trevor from South Florida. I'm an hour from Miami. So with Big Cat leaving, going back to Chicago, which is great, does that mean Dave's pretty much trying to find an office down in South Florida and like bring down the old parts of Barstool, New York, and Boston down to Miami, which I feel will be great?
I think that's his plan.
That lives down here.
Yeah, I think he's got 1 month trial Ethan down there now. Actually, they're in Toronto at the moment, but or at least
Ethan might not be coming back because that guy snuck into
Canada without a fucking
without a
passport.
He doesn't realize it's easy to get to other countries
You
without
can't get
a
back
passport.
in, you
America
dumbass.
doesn't let you back in.
Yeah. Like, that's the hard part. You can fucking go, jump a fence into Mexico or smuggle across a fucking snowbank in Canada. You can't get back in to America, you dumbass. And if you think Dave's going to help you on that, like, that's going to be your first trial. Is going to be like, if you can get back into America, then you can be in the whack pack. I cannot believe, out of all the people that Dave can assemble, that 1 month trial, Ethan is like number one first right off the bat. I mean, he truly is going to assemble a whack pack that makes the likes of, Hank and Weird Haircut Seth and all those guys look like, model candidates. That is crazy. So yeah, Trevor, I think the Miami office or Florida office is for sure.
Would you ever come down here?
No.
If you had a chance, would you want to stay in New York forever or Jersey forever?
I don't know about staying in New York forever, but I have zero interest in Florida. I think Florida is awful. I hate the weather. It's too warm. It's too muggy. The people are gross. I hate Florida. I'm sorry, Trevor. I don't mean to shit on
I'm
your.
originally from Connecticut. I'm originally from Connecticut, so I just moved down here like 3 months ago. That's why.
Are you liking it? I hate it.
It's not bad. I don't mind it at all. Like I kick it. I work a lot, so it's like I do this, go to the bars, and just do my thing. So I'm like close to Fort Lauderdale, so it's like perfect.
All right, do your thing, man. It's just not for me. I can't. I hate warm weather, dude. I run hot. Everybody knows that. I'm always like, oh my god, it's so hot in here, and the rest of my team is like wearing fucking parkas and covered in blankets, and I'm like, so I'm sweating down there. It's muggy. It's gross. It's weird. Everybody, there's like iguanas running around and alligators, and there's like weird sewer tunnels, like rivers running alongside the roads down there. What was that about? It's just
we were worried about you in Nashville because that Airbnb was set to about 62, and you were like, "Is it hot in here? It's hot in here." And
well, like, you guys were right underneath the fucking thing.
We were, but even like when we were just hanging out later, you were like sweating a lot.
I run hot, man. I run very hot. For the most part, Nashville was good though. Actually, I handled that weather. I was uncomfortable, but I wasn't all
it was
sweaty
50
all the time.
degrees most days.
Yeah, I know. I for some reason I thought Nashville was a warm place. And I was like, what is this shit? It was 43 one day. I was like, I need my fucking winter coat out here. This is bullshit.
When I was going to the airport, it was like 80 degrees.
I know.
And,
and then we were there, and it was terrible, and now it's nice again. It's
Bussin was tweeting out like, "Oh my God, beautiful day. What are you gonna do in Nashville?" I'm like, "Fuck you guys."
I know, man. We'll take a couple more calls on Barstool, and then we'll talk a little bit about Nashville as well. Andy in Illinois, what's up?
Hey, Kev, how you doing? First of all, I share your sentiment on Florida. I don't like walking around and my balls are sweating immediately when I leave the house.
The worst.
It's absolutely the worst, especially for anybody who is above average size in a male or female. Things stick together. They get greasy. It's disgusting.
Right. Ugh. Thank you.
But I got a question for you. So I'm lucky enough I had the opportunity to have Jersey Jerry on my show. Shout out to Jerry and Frank. Something I talked about with them, and I want to pick your brain on this because I respect your opinion. I don't know why. I'm just kidding. But I had an idea about a fitness comedy segment show thing that I actually sent off to a bunch of you guys at Barstool, but I wanted your thoughts on it. Have you guys ever thought about doing anything like that? I'm a fitness guy. I've been doing it for 15 years. Just something I had that kind of popped into my head. Again, love what all you guys do. Big Barstool fan here, but would love your input on that.
Yeah, I know during Big Ev's weight loss, which I think was like pandemic time, he was going for walks and he lost like 100 pounds and he was doing step by step. I know my brother reached out to him and tried to put together a couple ideas for like a weight loss thing that it just never, the powers that be just didn't take much interest in it. But there's been some talk about it, but it's a hard thing to do. I've even thought about doing it myself. Obviously not like Biggest Loser type shit where people are losing tons and tons of weight, but I'm getting absolutely fatter. I'm going from skinny fat to just regular fat, and I've always thought the only way for me to really like continue to do it and stay like stay on track is to make it into content. Because the only thing I like stick to is when I'm doing content and I like it. Like right now we're growing the Mets podcast and I'm like all in on that. I'm growing the YouTube. We're doing pre-games and post-games. I'm up all night. I'm doing emergency videos and reactions. And like once I get into something content-wise for work, then I go hard. And so if I like make a show out of it, that maybe I'll keep doing it. But that's hard because like there are times where you want to fucking give up, or you want to slide back a little bit, or you're done working out, or you get injured, or you want to just start eating regular again. And it's like if your show depends on that lifestyle, it's not easy to always continue. So it's I'm sure it can be done. There are definitely enough candidates here who could are funny, who have expressed wanting to lose weight. So yeah, I mean anything can happen. Do a couple more. We got Jacob in the ATL. What's up, Jake?
What's up, KFC? So it just kind of seems to me that Big Cat and Dave are just kind of branching out and doing their own version of the Kirk Minihane show now. Big Cat's got the Yak people. He's been making storylines with them, and Dave's always he's going to go to Miami, and he's always going to have those weird crew around him. People are just giving Kirk crap for so long, but now it seems like other than you're still doing original Barstool content, but now Dave and Dan seems like they're just trying to do their own version of Kirk.
Do you think that Kirk Minihane invented doing radio and podcast content with a crew of people?
No, but I think he does it the best. And now Dave and Dan have been around him for so long. They're like, well, we can do that too. So why don't we just do it in a different way? But it's already at Barstool, so people are.
In what? Who is Kirk? Kirk Minihane is alone.
He's got. I mean, yeah, he's alone, but all the Minifans are there. They're always in.
He just has. You're just describing a guy with crazy fans. He doesn't have a team of people.
He has a team of people. He's got Blind Mike, Dave. I mean, Steve was there. Justin's back. I mean, Harrison's gone. Harrison's a little bitch.
But here's the thing, bro. Aside from Mike and Steve, and I think I know the new producer. I don't know who you're talking about. You're just talking about fans of his who make Twitter accounts. Yeah, because those are not people though. Those are just crazy fans.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty much in the crew. I mean, because it's not as
no, they're not. No, there are not. Those are not people who are on the Kirk Minihane show. Those are people who listen to the Kirk Minihane show and call in. If you want to talk about people who create Dave is the one who's been Blind Mike is part of the show, yes. But Dave is the one who did it with Barstool with all the characters, guys like Hank and Weird Haircut Seth and Crazy Light Switch Lou and Gaz and
and Blind Mike
and Blind Mike, right? It's the guy who you're talking about is from Barstool.
Yeah, and Kirk works for Barstool. I mean, Chris Clemmer's there. His podcasts are trash, but I mean he's there. Dave is there.
To say that you think that Dan and Dave are doing what Kirk Minihane does is it's actually the diametrically opposed. Kirk is off on his own, doesn't have any interest in a team or co-hosts or anything like that. And he just is a single solitary man ranting into the abyss until the world ends. I mean, it's actually the polar opposite. But I know how you guys think that Kirk has invented everything and he's the end-all be-all, but I don't think that's a good comparison. Kevin from Maine. What's up, Kev?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. What do you got?
So I saw you tweet about, just thoughts on general Barstool changes, and I listened to Dan's appearance on Portnoy Show, and I like when Dan talks serious business stuff. He's so well spoken about it, and when I first saw, Dan's moving to Chicago, you do have that initial reaction of, oh shit, fun's over, everyone's kind of going their separate ways. But then you hear his perspective, first of all, as just a human being who the amount of traveling I imagine that he does with two young children, I have kids of a similar age, and I'm thinking, how fortunate I've been to be home, working from home during these past 3 years. So I think about that too. And then as he explains it, it really does almost offer longevity to his presence in Barstool. There would probably be a point where if he didn't have the ability to go live where he wants to live, that he'd eventually make a decision, probably rightfully so, family over work. So it seems like he explained it well, that this actually is going to offer probably better longevity for, his content. Obviously, he's one of the more popular people in the company. And, I can see the other downside. I'm curious your thoughts. Just there is fun with the ruckus in the office and, all the characters, and it is, you get all the weirdos together and it's content. It just happens. So curious your thoughts on if you see, a potential dip there versus the positives of being able to live where you want to live.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is it gives longevity to the idea of working at Barstool when people can be in the city they want to be and be with their families and not feel like they're picking one over the other. But what it does is it changes the word of, it changes like the definition of what is Barstool. So yeah, it extends his longevity of working here, but it changes into just like everyone is siloed off as opposed to, and it's not just like the whack packs. It's like there just is something. The same reason that interviews are better in person than over Zoom is like doing what we do is better when you walk in, and it doesn't have to be a crazy stool scenes fiasco where people are like fighting or something crazy's happening or the whack pack is, doing whack pack things. But it's just like, I walk in and like Feidelberg's right there and Jared was right there and I'm sitting next to Rudy and K Marco's popping in, and it's just like, it spawns creativity and content. And so that Barstool disappears, but the overarching idea of like being a part of Barstool can continue on. So yeah, I mean, I think if you think about it logically, it extends some things, but it also, you can't, we got to be honest about it. When other people have wanted to move and work remotely, there's a reason why they tried to shut it down. If it was all good for everybody to move away, then there would have never been nobody putting up a stink about like you should be here in the office, because we know it's better when and more interesting and entertaining when you are. Now, it's a little bit different for people who are trying to grow versus people who are already grown and at their level. But, like, we can't act like it doesn't change things. It obviously means a difference. It's just a matter of whether that difference is, whether it becomes good or bad. I'll do one more on Barstool, and then we'll go to Caleb in New York, who needs some advice. But right now we got Kyle in Jersey. What do you got on the future of Barstool, Kyle?
What's up, Kevin? Hey, I really love the shows down in Nashville, so good job, everyone, all around.
Thanks, man. That was a beast of a week.
Yeah, it was all, especially Nate Bargatze. He's a brilliant comedian. I think he's awesome.
He's the best, best in the biz.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So one thing that I was curious about is if everyone starts kind of splintering off back to, some people in Miami, some people in Chicago, some people staying back in New York. There's an entire infrastructure of behind the scenes crew, like producers, editors, etc. What does that mean in terms of like their career longevity with Barstool, or are they going to be asked to move, that kind of stuff? I didn't know.
Yeah,
if you had any answers on that.
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, I only operate with like the KC radio crew. Like I said, like we really don't overlap, and it's not like the way it kind of works is everybody has their P&L. Everyone has their money that comes in and the money that gets spent on their team, and that's how you get paid. That's how you get raises and promotions. And so like what you do in your franchise is your company, if you will. So it's not like if these guys are making money over here that it really gets spent over there. It's like I don't believe, at least that's how it really works. So everything is kind of sectioned off, and if you're not in one of those camps, I don't know what that means. And if you're being a producer or support for someone who moves and you don't move, like I don't know what that means exactly. I do know that we have this big ass fucking office here, and we have a third floor with like hundreds of people up there that still will need to be selling and distributing and producing and all that shit. So those people will still be here. I mean, I'm ready to inherit the office. I'm like, can I get this room? Can I get that room? Can I get that studio? Yeah, I mean, we have outgrown the KFC radio studio, that's for sure. So if I'm like, yo, is this room available?
Are you telling me the green screen room is just going to be available all the time? I'm going to do some crazy shit.
You know who's really, you guys are, for the people who are always scrambling to find a camera and trying to rent a space to shoot and find a place to record, if this place were to calm down a little bit. But also I'm thinking, I don't know if Penn and the powers that be are like, well, we can't have this like $10 million a year office for, just the KFC radio guys, but I'm ready to inherit the whole shebang if that's the case.
I was actually just thinking of this because he asked on the pre-call. I actually don't think it'll affect our producers and editors that much because the only people that actually have to be on site are people that are doing like live broadcasts and the tech.
True, but I
send the video files to be edited and all that. So.
I agree with that, but I also know that like there's just when it's like you have to send it, all right, we recorded this, let me send it to you because you're editing it there and you got to send it back and then we got to upload it here. There are just like logistics that do make it a pain in the ass.
The upload download of a 2-hour podcast
crazy.
Is like 3+ hours of wait time before you can get started. So the idea
sucks.
Of doing that and then downloading, editing it and flipping it by the next day becomes very hard.
What I know for a fact is that if you are on camera, you do not understand what goes into off camera. So I'm like, oh, okay, I recorded it. The podcast's done. Can you do a little bit of editing and can we put it out at noon? It's like, no, man, it's 11:15. We'll be lucky if we could put that out tomorrow because of just logistics and technology and certain things that you can't really get around. So I hope that like, Dan and Dave and people who don't produce and cut and edit understand like what goes into it because it does, doing things remotely makes it harder, and when it's less smooth, it's not as easy, it doesn't become as good, it doesn't become as fun. Like those sort of things can start to weigh on you. It's all possible, and again the risk reward is kind of like, okay, yes, a lot of those logistics are impossible, but if Dan is telling you, if I live in New York and raise my kids here, I'm going to be miserable, well, then that needs to take precedence before we worry about, download times. So it's kind of a trade-off that, needs to happen to like age appropriately as we all become old men and do this. Nobody's done this. Nobody's done this before, the transition into your 40s when you have a family and kids and you want to be by them while you're also still doing content. And, how do you balance that? Well, we're about to find out. Luckily for me, I live in New York. I'm just going to stay here. I didn't have to move in the first place. I'm not going to move away from it. It's just like I've always been in the epicenter of comedy and entertainment and where celebrities are coming and where you can land guests. And so I'm just chilling, man. I'm good here, whether it's with Barstool, without Barstool, if it's here, if it's in another building, like whatever, I'm going to be here. So luckily for me, that's not like a thing I have to decide upon, but we're going to see what this new era looks like. We lost Caleb. Or did we? He's on hold there, right? I think he's the second guy there. 708. Is that Caleb? Are you on the air, Caleb? Is that you? 708?
I'm guessing not.
No, I guess not. Yeah. He said he needed some advice with like a cheating fiance or something like that. That sounded juicy, but maybe.
So he pretty much said that he's got a buddy that has a situation, and he wants to get some advice.
If you want to call back, we can dive into it. For right now, let's get into the New York Post headlines of the week. We got a bunch of headlines that I've been kind of marking off since last week, really, before Nashville, I should say. First off, we've got the professional baby namer. This chick, this bitch can't knock the hustle, dude. Snake it till you make it. This woman is on TikTok. Her name is Taylor Humphrey. She's exactly what you would think when you think of Taylor Humphrey. Pretty blonde white woman who is a professional baby namer where she charges up to $10K a pop to name your kid for you.
That's it?
She made $150,000 in 2020 just naming babies. She says that that a lot of parents get panicked about naming their baby, and they don't want to think about it. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to come up with a bad name, and so they come to her, and they give you like their family tree, so you know like what the grandparents' names were and where they came from and what some of your family like interests are, and then she comes up with a fucking name that is good. I don't know. She does Reiki, and I think she's kind of like one of these spirituality like fucking maniacs, like this woo-woo shit. So she probably believes like that the name, means everything, but it's a bespoke naming service that can cost up to $10,000 fucking dollars. So like an example is This one woman named her daughter. She named her daughter Isla, Isla, but it kept being mispronounced. So she was like, "Can you rename my baby for me?" Like shit like that, which is just absolutely fucking absurd.
So from what I'm reading, she has like different packages. So the entry level package is $1,500. That's when she like just mails it in and just gives you a name.
That is the funniest to me, because when she said like, if you give me $10,000 and I will look at your family history and I'll look at genealogy, I'll look at your maiden names, I'll look at the businesses you run, and like if you like did all this shit and made an original name that really represented my family, I'm not gonna say it's $10,000 worth, but okay, like that's something. What I think is funny is that there's somebody out there who writes her a $1,500 check, sends it in, and she's just like nope. Jerry, your kid's name is Jerry. Like, here's a check, Gary. You're naming your boy Gary. Nobody does that anymore. There's no more Garys. They're gone. You can have an original name, Gary. Here you go. Cut the check. That to me is where the real hustle is. Her top picks, let's see. Humphrey advised a mom who was expecting baby number 3. So she said, I have 2 sons, Emmett and Miller. And Humphrey said, here are my top picks: Grady, Wilson, Whalen, and Fletcher. And bam, she gets the check. Let me tell you something. If I'm like 10 years old and I'm getting fucking bullied on the playground because my name is Fletcher, and I come home and I say, Mom, why the fuck did you name me Fletcher? Everyone's just making fun of me, saying that Fletcher sounds like a skin disease. Like, oh, he's got a bad case of the Fletcher. The Fletch is all over his skin. And you say to me, oh, well, I gave some fucking yoga bitch $2,500 and she churned out Fletcher. I will kill you. I will kill you with my bare hands, Mom and Dad. You couldn't name me? You couldn't even put the effort into naming me? I will say, I've said this before when Kylie Jenner renamed her kid. I think there should be more renaming. I think you should be able to like test things out. Like you call them one thing but you end up using a nickname and you're like, oh shit, we didn't actually end up using the name we thought we were gonna, or we thought this was cool and now people are making fun of him for it. Whatever. I'm not saying you should be able to change when you're like 10, but within the first 6 months or a year before you go out into the wild, you should be able to change your name if things are not working. And you should be able to pick your own name, to be fucking honest. Like, that's the real thing. When you become of age, you should be able to be like, I want to go by Frankenstein. Shout out Big Daddy, So naming people is weird. It is a very stressful, like, heavy thing to do, because technically the way we do things right now, it's for life. But if you're out here dropping $10K for some chick to just be like, name your kid Brave. Oh, shut the fuck up.
One of my favorite things in this article, look at the similarities in their stock image and one of our old shirts.
Yep. Yeah. The Sources shirt.
Dead on.
Look at that. I mean, and you know that these names are just like white ass names that are just like corny, over the top, Gwyneth Paltrow type shit.
Looking at that, that's a bunch of people that work here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, find a bunch of white people. These are their names. Pick from them. There you go. You're done. It's only white people who are dropping $10,000 for this. Just give them a white name and call it a day. But shout out to her. You can make, $10K cash every time somebody pops out a baby. Can't knock that hustle. How about this one? Man rushed to the ICU after crunching lung while masturbating too hard. A Swiss man has been hospitalized after suffering spontaneous pneumonitis during a vigorous masturbating session. His face was swollen and crunching noises could be heard from his neck to his elbows. Docs even discovered air was trapped at the base of his skull. A 20-year-old man survived after being admitted to the ICU from overly aggressive masturbation. I cannot even begin to imagine how hard you got to masturbate to go to the fucking hospital, because your boy has cranked it. Your boy has cranked it before. When I was a teenager, man, I damn near ripped that thing right off my fucking body. I can't imagine what the first like few times I started masturbating, I went so hard on that thing. I was beating my dick like it owed me money to the point that it got swollen, and I was like, I broke it. I broke my penis on day one of learning how to use it. What am I going to do? I've got to tell the doctor. I got to tell my parents, and eventually it just went away. If I had crunching sounds coming from my lungs and air trapped in the base of my skull because I was jerking off too hard, what was this guy doing? How can you even... Air leaks from the lung and becomes lodged in the rib cage. It's a rare condition that affects men in their 20s. Violent coughing, excessive vomiting, and I mean, this guy, crunching noises could be heard from his neck to his elbows. I mean, that is, let me see you crunch from your neck to your elbows. What the fuck, man?
Let me tell you, Kev, I think about this, well, not the crunching noise and all that, but I think about the whole jerking off way too hard every single time.
Every time, man. Too hard and too much, right?
I have an irrational fear that I'm going to go so hard my fucking thing's going to fall. I shit you not. Like, I'm constantly thinking of that.
Are you out here just like hammer time or what?
I mean, it's usually, so here's the thing, the day 24 hours ain't that long. I don't have that much time, so I'm trying to get it out the way as quick as possible. And yeah,
got to clear the pipes, got to get the poison out, and next thing you know, you've got pneumonia pseudoninitam where you're fucking crunching everywhere. I mean, this on the one hand, I'm like, this guy just needs to crack his neck. On the other hand, it sounds like he's in the fucking ICU. These are things, by the way, if this ever happens to me, I'm just dead. You're not going to catch me on the New York Post in the ICU from jerking off too hard. You'll catch me in the New York Post, I died because I didn't speak up and I masturbated myself to death. I would rather masturbate myself to death than masturbate myself into infamy because at least I'm not around for that. You guys can make fun of me once I'm fucking dead. Also, quick shout out to Al Pacino, 81. Started dating a 28-year-old. Now, I know that Al Pacino is not your average 81-year-old, but also at the end of the day, a man is a man, flesh and bone. Nobody, I don't care how rich you are, eventually Father Time catches up to you, and when we're talking about into your 80s, this ain't George Clooney in his 50s and 60s. This is in your 80s, bro. And this is like obviously a super smoke and killer body, beautiful all around, and she's dating a 80. More power to both of you, I guess. I can't imagine. Listen, as a 37-year-old, I found it hard to be like, girls who are younger than me want to party, they want to go out. I can't imagine adding 50 fucking years to that and dating the same age of girl. This girl wants to go out and party. This girl wants to stay up all night. This Al Pacino is like, I need to go to bed after Wheel of Fortune. Did you do Wordle today, honey? Or maybe he's not. Maybe Al Pacino is just a pimp, and he's still out here fucking and partying and keeping 28-year-olds happy, but I couldn't keep up with a 28-year-old, and he's got 50 years on me. So shout out to Al. Also, while we're talking big-time movie stars, I got to give a shout out to Johnny Depp. I've been following his trial. I was listening to his psychologist who kind of diagnosed Amber Heard, and she was going through the checklist of kind of like abusive and fucked up things and kind of disorders and shit that Amber Heard has, and I was sitting there going like, yep, experienced that. I lived through that. I know what that's about. I know, and so I know that Johnny Depp is no angel. I know that he's basically like a rock star, a fucking drug addict who partied hard and fought hard and loved hard. And in some way, I can't believe that Amber Heard and Johnny Depp really took it to the mutual destruction level. They both were just like, let's ruin each other's lives. I can kind of understand Johnny Depp being like, well, you already ruined my career. You already ruined my reputation. So we're going to war, and I'm going to tear you down with me. I can't believe that Amber Heard took it to this level, though. Anybody who goes to the public with the private problems of a relationship, it's gonna be ugly for everybody. Nobody wins in that situation. So unless you're down to, if you want to go down with the ship, more power to you. But I think that's what, the psychologist was talking about. Is like, you're a little bit fucking crazy. But I think that Johnny Depp is an important guy. We've been talking during our live shows, and we did it in Nashville. Every live show, we talk about the Me Too movement and how the pendulum's got to swing back a little bit on, Me Too movement with guys who are horrible and abusive and assault and all that. Of course, there's a valid that's the valid portion of that movement. There's the other portion of that movement that involves normal guys going through regular relationship troubles who get torn down by public scrutiny or whatever, and they are like, they have no control, they have no power because the public villainizes them, and the partner they're with is like tearing them down with either lies or exaggerations or not telling the full story, whatever. And Johnny Depp being like, fuck this, I'm willing to go all the way to trial to fight this shit because people are going to know that she bit my finger off, that she shit in my bed, that she's an absolute fucking lunatic 24/7, that she's manipulative and that she's fighting. And, so when you know the whole story, it's like, oh, maybe we need to pump the brakes before we, judge who's right and wrong in the relationship. So shout out to Johnny. Maybe that's the key, though, is just being like 81 and finding some 28-year-old who's just like, I don't care. Let's just fucking have fun. He ain't going to trial. Al Pacino ain't going to trial anytime soon. He'll go to the casket before he goes to trial. We also got the boy born with 2 penises. Okay?
They did my boy dirty on this one.
Dude, they did him so dirty. This kid is born with 2 penises. He is in Brazil. They say 1 in every 1 million baby boys is born with a duplicated penis, which I'll be honest sounded like that sounds like a lot to me. I would have thought that was like 1 in a trillion. There's like 1 million babies born pretty frequently. You're telling me that there's always a couple guys out there with 2 dicks. So this baby boy is born with 2 dicks. And, we can talk all you want. Like, you can make all the jokes you want about having 2 penises. But at the end of the day, having 2 dicks sucks, right? You're a freak. It's not good. It's probably dangerous and hygiene and all that shit. So they got to have surgery to remove one. That I'm all good with. However, the doctors removed the bigger dick. They left him with the small dick. That poor son of a bitch is going to grow up, and he's going to have undoubtedly like a weird-looking dick because you'd have to imagine that whole region is kind of jacked up now. You're born with 2 dicks, and you got to get 1 chopped off. And he's going to have this one little tiny dick, and he's going to find out that the doctors took a hammer away from him. That to me is like, come on, doc, throw me a bone here. But it did say that the smaller dick was the better functioning dick. So we will find out from this boy right here whether it's the size of the boat or the motion in the ocean. It's because if this big dick was going to be like, here's a question for you. Would you rather have a big dick that impresses girls and they run back to their other friends and they gossip about it and other girls are like, yo, I got to try to ride that thing. And then when they get there, they find out it's kind of disappointing because it doesn't, you can't get it hard all the time or you don't last long, but you already get, you have the reputation and the swagger of the guy with it. When people say, I walk around like I got a 10-inch dick, would you rather that, but it doesn't work, or you got a small dick, a little below average? You're not a freak, but you're below average, but it works.
I would go with the bigger one.
Yeah, me too. It's so stupid and so dumb.
I was actually gonna say that, man. If there's no health problems involved with it, I mean, keep the 2. I'll go with the 2.
Just rock.
With
both.
And I'll tell you this, Kevin. You do not want to be average in this world because you'll just stick out. You won't stick out at all,
dude. As long as they were like, if they're not like mangled and weird looking, if you just had 2 dicks and you could fuck somebody and finish and then just be like, all right, call to the bullpen, bring in the lefty, and you put your other dick in there. That's a fucking talent right there.
I mean, living with dwarfism, I've gotten to learn that there's a lot of sick-minded people here. Add the 2 dicks.
If you were a 2-dicked African dwarf, forget about it, dude. You are one of a kind, homie. You would be the fucking belle of the ball. So shout out to the 2-dick kid. We got a couple more here to wrap up. We've got the fictosexual man who married his hologram bride. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with people who marry sex dolls and holograms because you don't want to end up like Johnny Depp. You want to get to a point where it's just like, you know what? I fuck my doll. I hang out with my hologram. She never bothers me. He never bothers me. I live a good life where I get my rocks off and I live in my little pretend world. But he's now complaining that he's having trouble bonding with her. If you're going to marry your hologram, you got to know that there's going to be some hurdles. And some of those hurdles are going to be you can't bond with them because it's not fucking real. How about you just hop on the computer program and, like, you know, punch in some code so that she bonds with you a little bit better? What's the whole point of marrying a hologram if you can't fucking manipulate her? I'm telling you, we're going to get to a point 1,000 years from now, everybody's going to be like, you don't marry other humans. They're irrational. They don't think straight. They're dumb. Why don't you just fuck your hologram sex doll? That's what we do here. There ain't going to be no more Johnny Depp and Amber Heard because everyone's going to be fucking holograms and robots that are completely curtailed and created exactly to their liking.
I think 1,000 years is a long.
Yeah, I meant like 100 years.
Like 20.
I think 20 years it'll be. I think in 100 years it'll be like marriage is dead because people just marry their sex doll.
We already had that fucking movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson.
Yep,
where
we're coming.
The computer.
We're coming, man. Manti Te'o and shit like that. We've already been grooming ourselves to just be married to robots and sex dolls. And last up here, man with 9 wives has a sex schedule to fulfill my sexuality at any cost. This guy is going to go by the way of the dodo. Ain't nobody out here trying to have 9 wives because you might have 9 Amber Heards, bro. If you have 9 wives, chances are you have 1 Amber Heard. And they're not there to fulfill your sexuality at all costs. They're there to fuck you and like absolutely manipulate and exploit you because you're in some sort of weird sexual circus, okay? The guy, no joke, who do you think is more normal? The guy with 9 wives or the guy who married the hologram? Because I'm leaning towards hologram.
Yeah, hologram.
like on the surface, you think like, oh yeah, no, the guy he married 9 hot chicks and he fucks all of them and it's like a harem of chicks. Yeah. That's like day 1. When you're on day 100 of trying to juggle 9 wives, there's only so many times you can get your dick sucked. There's only so many orgies you can have, and eventually you're just juggling 9 chicks and hoping that none of them are shitting in your bed or biting off your fingers. Whereas the hologram, if the biggest trouble you have is that you're not bonding with her, brother, consider yourself lucky.
I follow a couple on TikTok that does this. That's dealing with one person, and they have to put it on a schedule. Imagine 9.
Imagine 9, dude.
Crazy.
Unless you got 2 dicks, I can't handle 9 people. All right, let's wrap up like we always do with my man Corey in New York. What do you got for me, pal?
It's good to be back, my genius friend.
Thank you, sir.
So I was watching all your live shows last week, and one day you had Chase Rice on. I'm a huge Chase Rice fan.
He's awesome.
So it got me thinking, if you could have like a top 3 people to go on a podcast or a live show who aren't comedian, who are you picking and why?
Top 3. If you're watching me right now, whoever that smoke is right there, she's on the list. And
watch what you say, Kevin. She'll kick your ass.
I was gonna say,
kick your ass.
I don't know if it's her or him. Somebody out there can definitely kick my ass, but she's on the list, no doubt.
She's on the card too.
Yeah, I bet.
Isn't that Jake Paul's girlfriend? Or, not girlfriend, but the boxing.
I don't know.
He's promoting.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it is.
Sure. I don't know, but looking good right there. Also, non-comedians. Man, I always throw out Mike Francesa. I got to get my white whale. And you know what? Johnny fucking Depp right now. I want to have an honest discussion with Johnny Depp about what's going on in his life. That would be the card right there. So, yeah, that Johnny Depp right now might be my white whale. An honest discussion with that cat. Let's fucking go. Corey, send him off, brother.
You are talking to the most underrated genius in the world, KFC.
See you next week.
So according to my guy TJ, that's apparently Amanda Serrano is what her name is.
All I saw was that boop, boop from the back. I was like, okay. We'll see you guys next week on the Kevin Clancy Show.